This morning I'd like to share something that stood out for me from a spring harvest session that I watched last month that actually James recommended, where the American worship leader Aaron Keyes was speaking. And I know that several others of you have watched it too, and it was included on the recommended list in the last newsletter. So it'll be interesting to know if similar messages stood out for any of the rest of you. The theme of the session was worship, but actually I think this idea applies not just to worship, but more widely to how we relate to God every day. So our emotions can have a big influence on our connection with God. Positive emotions, feelings like joy, thankfulness or energy, or negative ones like worry, frustration, fear or anger. Feelings that might be particularly familiar to many of us at the moment. To really connect with God, Aaron was saying that we need to express our emotions, but that's not enough. At the same time, we also need to declare the truth about who God is, to focus on his sacred, real and unchanging nature. I think this applies equally to positive and negative emotions, because when we're happy, we can get carried away by all the good stuff. And when we're sad, we can either be suppressing it or feeling completely overwhelmed. The point is, he used a wonderful image to exemplify this message, a picture that I just haven't been able to get out of my head and has been really helpful to me in the last few weeks. And sometimes a picture can be easier to hold on to than a lot of words. He suggested that our circumstances and our emotions are like weather in a mountain range. When the fog or the storm clouds roll in, the rain is pouring and the wind is swirling around, you can't see the mountain. It's consumed by the weather. When this happens, we need to acknowledge the weather, but also remember that the mountain is still there and is still going to be there after the storms have passed. It's solid, strong and eternal, and from this we have hope. But how do we do this in the midst of the storm? How do we, to use Aaron's words, express what we are feeling but also confess what is real and unchanging? A powerful thing to do is to turn to the Bible, especially to books like the Psalms, that I must admit I've overlooked a lot recently, where there's so many examples of people expressing their joy, anger, fear and pain, sometimes in really quite graphic language. If we think about Psalm 22, my God, why have you abandoned me? Why are you so far away when I groan for help? Psalm 55, let death stalk my enemies, let the grave swallow them alive. Psalm 58, about wicked people, may they be like snails that dissolve into slime. And there are also so many declarations of God's good and everlasting character. Psalm 36, your unfailing love, O Lord, is as vast as the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches beyond the clouds. Your righteousness is like the mighty mountains. Your justice is like the ocean depths. Psalm 103. The Lord is compassionate and merciful, slow to get angry and filled with unfailing love. And also just about all of Psalm 145. So with that picture of the mountains and the weather in mind, I'd like to end with today's reading, which is from Lamentations 3, verses 19 to 24, which I find are really helpful as a model for this idea. The first 18 verses are consumed with sadness. They're a lament by Jeremiah about the fall of Jerusalem. But it doesn't end there. There's an amazing statement about the truth of God, which gives me hope.